year in the history of human existence. I don't know if that is true actually, because just because we haven't really seen the past, talking from the present point of view, there might have been much worse scenario cases, but globally speaking, anyways. So, well, we are learning about karma, so we know why things are happening. So actually, we can relate to those things, right?
Khempo,
Really,
before you start, Khempo, before you start, let me tell you that I read an article recently written by a historian, and he reminds us that in 1918, so a little bit over a century with the Spanish flu, between 50 million and 100 million people died. And while the pandemic was happening, they were also fighting the First World War.
yeah.
So
it's
so
worse.
they were, and not even that was called the worst year in history. He said that the year 536 was the worst year. There was another plague, and it wiped out like a third of the population in Europe.
Yes, it's true. Anyways, even, well, I mean, it's a different time we are living in. So, but if Spanish flu had happened this time, it would have just wiped out the whole world, I guess. Really. Back then, people didn't travel. It just happened in some countries. They didn't have this facility to travel around. Now it's happening because of, because we have all these means to travel anywhere we want. In 3 hours, you are in different country. So it's because of that, actually. The whole spread is because of that, right? But if there were no flights, if the countries were lived on their own, it would just have happened only in China, actually. It may have not gotten out of China. Anyway, so it's yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start now.
Yes.
There are a few more, characteristics of karma that I would like to discuss. These are very important. And this actually defines the nature of the karma. Mainly 4, but we can also say 5. Let's, say 4 first. So now to remind you, this brief teaching of this also you will find in Gambopa's book, Jewel Ornament of Liberation. In the karma part, the chapter of the karma actually speaks about this. The thing that we talked about, Gambopa's book, about karma, you will find there too. So now today, we'll discuss about different characteristics of the karma. The very first characteristics of the karma is, is called karmic results will be ripened accordingly. What it meant is, it means that as far as the result of our karmas are concerned, they are certain. They cannot be mixed up at all. This part is actually very huge and very good. So let's try to, analyze this a little bit more. What it meant is, in some ways, it's very simple, very simple. It just means that if you took example of, seed, whatever seed you sow, accordingly, you will get the result. So therefore, like if you plant or sow a seed that is seed of an apple tree, you will get an apple tree. You will never get a mango tree out of an apple seed. So this is an example, and these are very easy. Also in Vinaya and in many other sutras, Buddha talk about that. Buddha says, if you plant a seed that is nature of sour, as a result, you will get something that's only sour. And so if it is sweet, you will only get something that's sweet. So this will never mix up. In the same way, there is no possibility that I will experience happiness by accumulating negative karma at all. I think this is very important for us to remember, in fact, because we sometimes tend to think that way. Well, I'll come more into that later on. In the same way, by accumulating good karma, there is no way that as a result of that karma, you will gain suffering or pain. That can never be the case. So the result, the consequences of our actions can never be mixed up. So for example, sometimes as a human being, we kind of think there is no justice from karma point of view. Actually, I brought it up quite nice. As far as the law is concerned, human-made law is concerned, 100% possible that you will not get justice. But as far as the law of the karma is concerned, that is not a possibility at all. Just saying this word justice so that we'll have a better understanding of this. Because both are law, right? For example, there's a karmic law of the karma, and then there is the law in terms of constitution of, the country or the law. But the difference is, as far as our law, the country law is concerned, one can escape from that. So as far as justice and all that is concerned, I don't know how much we can trust that. Of course, we can trust, we have to trust, but then, there is always loopholes, a lot of loopholes, and then people can escape with power, with influence and everything. But karma, no one can escape from that, right? From the king to the Buddha to the most poor creature on the earth, no one can escape from that, actually, so to speak. Anyway, so here, like sometimes we think like this, like, these people, they are very good people. They are, but, but they are going through so much pain and suffering. And on the other hand, there are these people who are really, really bad people, doing bad things to people all the time. But then they, are very successful. They are having a very good life. So we think that, or as a practitioner, I myself think, oh, I practiced Dharma so many years. I have done so many retreats. Then why these bad things is happening to me? Like we sometimes say, oh, why bad things are happening to good people? Actually, it is very wrong. Bad thing can never happen to a good people. And then we also think, good things are happening to bad people. This actually, from the karma point of view, is not at all possibility. But in our life, we tend to see that, very often people who are against Dharma tend to have more success, much better life. But those who are in Dharma, practicing Dharma, seems like they have, they have not as good life. So we think in our head that maybe, there is no such thing as karma, correct? But actually, That's not the truth. We have to remember that, or maybe that much first, then I will continue. Maybe I'll say.
Thank you. Bueno, vamos a seguir hablando. Hay 4 o tal vez 5 características importantes del karma que yo quisiera aclarar antes de seguir. Esto que hemos estado estudiando también lo encuentran en el libro que se llama La joya ornamental de Khempo, en un capítulo específico que él tiene sobre el karma. Creo que es el capítulo 4. La primera de estas características del karma de la que quiero hablar hoy es que los resultados kármicos madurarán correspondientemente. Esto quiere decir que no se mezclan y que el resultado de una acción kármica se producirá de manera cierta, digamos. El ejemplo que podemos usar es el de una semilla. Nosotros tenemos una semilla y esa semilla solamente produce un tipo de planta. Si tenemos una semilla de manzana, lo único que puede resultar de esa semilla es un árbol de manzana. Nunca obtendremos un árbol de mango, por ejemplo. Si la semilla, y en el Dharma se dice, si la semilla es ácida o agria, pues nunca tendremos un resultado dulce, ¿sí? Los resultados kármicos no se mezclan. Entonces, si nosotros sembramos semillas de sufrimiento, pues no podemos esperar felicidad de ellas, ¿sí? En cambio, si nosotros sembramos semillas de buen karma, pues nunca estas producirán sufrimiento, ¿sí? No, eso no puede suceder. A veces creemos que el karma no es justo, ¿sí? Porque, pues, pareciera que algunas personas que se comportan incorrectamente, de acuerdo con las leyes de los humanos, pueden tener buenas vidas y además pueden escapar esa justicia humana, la de la ley, la que está escrita en los códigos. Y entonces decimos, ¿cómo puede ser? Hacen mal, son unas malas personas, pero tienen una excelente vida y no les pasa nada, ¿sí? En cambio, hay otra gente que es buena, de buen corazón, que ayuda a los demás y está, digamos, en estados de sufrimiento, de dificultad. Entonces, ¿cómo es eso? O podemos preguntarnos acerca de nosotros mismos. Yo soy buen practicante, llevo en el Dharma no sé cuántos años, he hecho no sé cuántos retiros y todavía estoy lleno de problemas. Debe ser que esto del karma no funciona o es mentira o no es así. Pero no, esto no es así. El karma es infalible y así la ley humana no castigue a los que se comportan mal. Desde el punto de vista del karma no hay escapatoria, no hay atajos, no hay escondrijos donde nos podamos escapar de las leyes del karma. Okay, Khempo, thank you.
Remember the last Sunday, I think, we talked about how karma is ripened in different lifetimes. So, generally speaking, this present life is whatever may be happening in our present life is not because of what we are doing in this life. Our life is very much the result of our past karma. Karma past meaning mainly in the past lifetimes. So we are experiencing most probably the remaining karma. There's a term called remaining karma of the past lifetimes. Let's say in the past lifetimes, you know, I have accumulated this very good karma, and I have been enjoying that karma, let's say 5 lifetimes, as an example. Now this is my 5th lifetime. And in this life, now I am exhausting the remaining result of those good karma that I have accumulated, I don't know, 500 years, maybe lifetimes or something like that ago. So therefore, when whatever karma or that I am accumulating in this life, let's say I'm a very bad person and I'm only engaging in negative things, doing negative stuff. The result of this negative thing that I am doing, it's not necessary that I will experience this in this very lifetime. I will have the result of those without any doubt, but in the future lifetimes, in the coming future lifetimes, soon after when this karma exhausts, then that karma can be ripened, so to speak. But because we cannot see the past and because we cannot really see the future, we only see the present. And then in our mind, this ignorant mind thinks that things happen, things happen in a very quick session. We think that what I do now, I will get the result now. But that's not the case with karma. For instance, we think like when you're hungry, you eat something, then you're satisfied, you're full. So we think karma is like this. Or when you are thirsty, you drink water and then your problem solved. So we expect karma work that way, but karma doesn't work that way actually. We can see that very easily, even by observing the let's say the plants, right? If you plant something, it will not grow the next morning or overnight. It will take very long time for that seed to turn into a plant. Months, I guess, sometimes years. So it's a very logical way actually to think like that, right? In the same way, this karma that we have planted are the same way. But there is no escaping unless that karma is destroyed, there is no escaping from that karma. So which means I may be a very bad person in this life, but then I'm having this very good life. So that's not because of what I am in this life, but that's because of who I was in the past lifetimes. Same with the good things, but because our mind is very narrow, I guess, so we think in a very narrow way about the karma. And sometimes people even sort of, disbelieve the law of the karma because they are like, look at these people, around us. That I would say is because we are very short visioned people. We don't have this we are not very far sighted. Unfortunately, because of lack of knowledge about karma, we are not at all far sighted because we cannot see beyond this life. We always relate everything to this life, but that's wrong because we must really, this life is present is a result. And if present is a result, it can be the result of the future, correct? So then it has to be the result of the past. We need to look back into the past, but we don't do that. We look only in the present, actually. But this present will create future. Again, we don't look into the future. We just look into the present. Even from the time frame point of view, nothing happens in the present, so to speak, in terms of ripening of the karma. So it always ripens in the future, not in the present. So these things we need to keep in mind. and understand, like, you know, all the teachers say that it's very important to really observe our life of other people. Then we will have a very, you know, very clear picture of the meaning of the karma, and also picture of what we might have done in the past, what we might experience in the future. And from this, then it will give us this strength, this potential to protect ourselves, you know, from the future actually. How? Because then we will be careful of our actions, of the body, speech, and mind, since now we understand that these are the consequences of the actions of our body, speech, and mind. So we will be more and more careful. We'll behave, you know, more properly. So I'm behaving more properly, and which means I am actually, as a human being, I am developing, I'm growing as a human being, as a better human being, and better human being, and better human being. I can only become a better human being when I have, to some extent, a very solid understanding of the karma, not just understanding of the karma, but this, you know, potential in my mind to behave, you know, accordingly actually. This is why the teaching of the karma is so important, because like I might have said many times, there is no dharma practicing if one did not follow the karma at all. Because the heart of dharma practice actually meaning following the karma, means first having a very solid understanding of the meaning of cause and effect, and then accordingly following that law. So then, yes, in a very true sense, I become a really true dharma practitioner actually. You understand that? Actually, it's based on Four Noble Truths, like I said many times. So please think about it, because we don't need to go into things like, you know, very into things, other many things. If we don't have the foundation of a solid understanding of karma, if we don't have this foundation of practicing the karma at all, then we actually are not really a dharma practitioner in the first place. There is no way that one can achieve liberation, let alone liberation. One can even not achieve higher rebirth. So how can you become, you know, a sublime being or have higher realization? So the very first step, you know, towards liberation of emotions, of karma, is really, you know, the foundation of the law of the karma. Okay.
Let me turn the light. I
Mm-hmm.
see. Now I can see. Bueno, el pasado domingo hablamos de que el karma no madura en esta vida, sino que madurará en nuestras próximas vidas, el karma de esta vida, digamos. Lo de esta vida, la vida que estamos experimentando ahora y lo que estamos viviendo, no es el resultado entonces del karma de esta vida, sino mayoritariamente del karma que hemos sembrado en vidas pasadas. Puede ser, por ejemplo, entonces, que yo hace 5 vidas acumulé muy buen karma. y durante 5 vidas he estado, digamos, aprovechando o disfrutando el resultado de ese buen karma que sembré, ¿sí? Y que esta sea mi última de esas 5 buenas vidas. Y en esta vida, entonces, como sigo obteniendo el resultado de un buen karma sembrado en hace 5 vidas, pues tengo una muy buena existencia, muy buena vida, ¿sí? Pero en esta vida puede ser que yo sea una persona muy mala, que me dedique a hacer el mal. Entonces la gente no entenderá y dirá, pero ¿cómo? Esta persona tan mala que genera tanto sufrimiento, ¿cómo puede tener tan buena vida? Y esto es porque no somos capaces de ver el pasado, de cómo yo estoy ahorita experimentando el resultado de ese karma de hace 5 vidas, y tampoco podemos ver el futuro, de qué será lo que sucederá conmigo en mis próximas vidas, ¿sí? Digamos, creemos que el karma, esta es una creencia, digamos, errónea, creemos que el karma tiene efecto inmediato, como cuando tenemos hambre y comemos algo y se nos quita el hambre. O tenemos sed, nos tomamos un vaso de agua e inmediatamente ya estamos sin sed. Y creemos que el karma es así de inmediato, pero el karma no funciona así. El karma lo podríamos más bien comparar con la siembra de un árbol. Nosotros sembramos un árbol y pues obviamente no tenemos sembramos un árbol hoy y no tenemos un árbol mañana. Hay árboles que toman meses y algunos otros toman años para crecer, ¿sí? Igualmente sucede con el karma, que toma mucho tiempo, ¿sí? Pero no hay escapatoria, digamos. Una vez que la semilla kármica se ha sembrado, esa semilla kármica generará su resultado, pues a menos que ese karma se elimine, ¿sí? Entonces, volviendo a repetir, una mala persona en esta vida puede tener una buena vida como resultado de sus vidas pasadas, pero como nosotros pensamos en el karma de una manera muy estrecha, porque no tenemos un buen entendimiento, no tenemos una visión sobre el karma, por eso, digamos, todo lo relacionamos con esta vida, ¿sí? Creemos que todo lo que sucede en esta vida fue sembrado en esta vida y dará resultado en esta vida, pero eso es una visión muy errónea, muy estrecha del karma, ¿sí? La vida presente es el resultado del pasado y en esta vida presente estamos sembrando las causas de nuestro futuro. Es importante entonces observar las vidas de otros y también observar lo que nosotros hicimos en el pasado y tratar de también entender cómo será nuestro futuro. Esto nos sirve para entender mejor el karma y protegernos a nosotros mismos del futuro, del sufrimiento futuro que podemos experimentar. Así entonces nos volveremos personas más cuidadosas con el cuerpo, el habla y la mente, ¿sí? Tendremos entonces un mejor comportamiento y seremos mejores seres humanos por medio de un mejor entendimiento del karma. Por eso son tan importantes las enseñanzas del karma. Se puede decir, no existe la práctica del dharma sin un buen entendimiento del karma. El entendimiento del karma es la base de todo el dharma. Un verdadero practicante entonces empieza por un buen entendimiento del karma que lo lleva o que lo encuentra, digamos, al estudiar las 4 nobles verdades. Digamos que para empezar entonces no es necesario profundizar más, sino tratar de entender el fundamento del karma, porque así seremos unos buenos practicantes. Si no entendemos el karma, entonces no seremos buenos practicantes, cometeremos acciones erróneas que no nos permitirán lograr la liberación, eso estaría totalmente fuera de alcance, y ni siquiera nos permitirían tener un buen renacimiento como para poder continuar con el desarrollo del Dharma en vidas futuras. Ok, Khempo.
Now, can you see the connection between refuge and the teaching of karma? That's why the earlier I said, we talked about how the teaching of the refuge and karma is connected. Actually, it makes a very big sense now. I hope you have a very clear picture of that. Why we take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Sangha, mainly in the Dharma, is actually we believe in karma, correct? We believe in the law. Like we believe, let's say, we believe in Dharma, meaning we believe that, actions have consequences. Good actions, bad actions, positive, negative action have consequences. So we trust that. That's what Buddha taught. In short, that's what Buddha taught, correct? And because we believe in Dharma, we naturally believe in Buddha, because Buddha is the individual who taught about karma. So we believe in his teachings, therefore we believe in the teacher. And we believe in the, in the followers of the Dharma, we call them Sangha. But here the point is, it's not actually about Buddha, it's not actually about Sangha. It actually is about Dharma, like take refuge. It doesn't really mean I close my eyes and then chant all these things that we say, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in Dharma. That doesn't really mean much. I'm not, disregarding those things. But really, even if you say that billions of times, what's that going to do to you actually if you did not follow the karma? Let's say you are in a cave for 12 years or maybe even 24 years, and then you just chanted those things. But if you never follow the karma, that's kind of a waste of time, right? I'm just saying something very honestly, actually. But now let's say there's this person who doesn't really chant those things and who was not in retreat, but then he or she followed the teaching, the law of the karma, then there is the result. So this is why we teach refuge, and after the refuge, then we teach about karma, actually, the consequences of all those things. So now you see that the meaning of refuge, actually, what does that really mean? If I follow the footsteps of Buddha and Sangha, right? So if I did follow the footsteps of Buddha and Sangha, then what do I need to do? I need to do what they did. What they did was they followed the law of the karma to the T, absolutely, and completely. Because without following the law of the karma, there is no liberation whatsoever. There is no higher rebirth. There is no happiness. There are no pure realms, right? Okay, let's say pure realm, we talk about pure realms, Buddha realms, all the wonderful, all the good things are consequences of what? Positive actions, are consequences of compassion, kindness, bodhicitta, all of the 6 paramitas. So following all of the 6 paramita is following the law, because I trust if I practice generosity, it will bring benefit to me, it will bring benefit to other people. Same way with the patience. Discipline too. We see that as a source of benefit, not just for myself, but for other people. And also compassion. We see that as a source of benefit, not just for myself, for other people. And that's why we take refuge in 6 paramitas. We take refuge in loving kindness and compassion, bodhicitta, the whole path. we talk about the 5 paths, right? They are all rooted in this meaning of refuge. It's very big. But refuge is rooted in what? Following the law of the karma. I cannot expect, good things happening to me if I did not practice the 6 paramitas. I mean, I'm just saying 6 paramita because we know those names, right? But in general, it actually is and comes under that category. So that's what Buddha is saying here, that when he says the consequences of our actions never fail to produce their result accordingly. Because consequences of our actions, let's say of the 6 paramitas, are certain. There is certainty in it. There's surety in it. This is what it meant when it says here that, karmic results are ripened accordingly. Okay, Carlos. So this is the first characteristic. Okay.
I didn't mark where I ended. I think it is here.
Yeah, please let me know if you missed something, because
Okay.
if I'm too long in saying things.
Ok, digamos que hay una persona que se va a retiro y... No. Here. ¿Ven entonces la conexión entre refugio y karma? Esto ya debería ser evidente. ¿Por qué nosotros tomamos refugio en el Buda, en el Dharma y en la Sangha? Pero muy especialmente en el Dharma. Y esto es porque creemos en el karma. Tenemos confianza en la ley de causa y efecto. Y cuando nosotros tomamos refugio en el Dharma, pues obviamente estamos también tomando refugio en el Buda, porque pues el Buda fue quien enseñó el Dharma y especialmente enseñó las leyes del karma, ¿sí? Entonces, cuando nosotros tomamos refugio en las enseñanzas, también estamos tomando refugio en el maestro que dio esas enseñanzas, en el Buda. Y al mismo tiempo, también estamos tomando refugio en los seguidores de esas enseñanzas, o sea, la Sangha. Entonces, tomar refugio en el Dharma también es tomar refugio en el Buda y en la Sangha. Ahora, tomar refugio no significa repetir, yo tomo refugio en el Buda, yo tomo refugio en el Dharma, yo tomo refugio en la Sangha, ¿sí? Repetir eso ciegamente lo podemos hacer 100,000 veces y eso no tiene un gran resultado, digamos. No es que quiera hablar mal de la fórmula, pero pues repetirlo ciegamente no produce un gran resultado. Si no respetamos el karma. En cambio, si respetamos el karma, pues obviamente vamos a tener resultado. Supongamos que alguien entra en retiro y se va a una cueva durante 12 o aún 24 años, pero no respeta las leyes del karma. Pues esta persona, digamos, o la podemos comparar con otra persona que no se va a un retiro, sigue viviendo su vida normal y ordinaria, pero esta persona sí sigue y respeta las leyes del karma. Ahí vemos que, pues, estar en retiro repitiendo cosas sin respetar el karma no produciría el mismo resultado que para esta persona que sí entiende el significado y lo respeta. Entonces, ¿entienden el significado de refugio? Yo sigo al Buda y a la Sangha, ¿por qué? Porque ellos, o mejor dicho, Si yo quiero seguir al Buda y a la Sangha, ¿qué hago? Pues trato de hacer lo mismo que ellos hicieron. Y al estudiar la vida de ellos, ¿qué vemos? Que ellos siguieron el Dharma y en especial siguieron el karma, ¿sí? Porque sin seguir las leyes del karma no hay posibilidad de liberación, no hay posibilidad de renacimientos en los reinos superiores, ¿sí? Todo lo bueno que nosotros podemos experimentar es el resultado del buen comportamiento. Para eso entonces existen las enseñanzas como por ejemplo de las 6 paramitas, ¿sí? Entonces nosotros podríamos tomar refugio en las 6 paramitas. ¿Esto qué es? Es tomar refugio en la generosidad, en la paciencia, en la disciplina, ¿sí? En todo lo que nos llevaría a buenas acciones que entonces repercutirían en una buena existencia futura. Lo mismo sucede con la compasión, con la bodhicitta. Todo está basado en el significado del refugio, que a su vez está basado en la ley del karma, ¿sí? No puedo esperar nada bueno si no sigo las 6 paramitas, si no sigo la bodhicitta, ¿sí? Las consecuencias del karma entonces son infalibles. Ok.
Oh, before I forget, I want to thank you all the donations. I received the donation that you guys have been sending to me. So thank you. Muchas gracias. Okay, so, like from the karma point of view, just to give you one little example about the paramita. So when we practice generosity brings about wealth. It's what we understand, right? If I am poor in this life and if I'm experiencing poverty, that actually really means in my previous lifetimes, whenever that was, but doesn't have to be like the very immediate past life, could be many, many lifetimes ago. Since I did not practice generosity, therefore now as a consequences of that, then I am going through this, poverty in this lifetime. And if I have a good life and wealth point of view, financial point of view, then that means even though in this lifetime you are not very generous, you may not be practicing generosity, but still, if you are, doesn't have to be rich. We should not always think from the rich point of view, We should think from the point of view of, enough wealth to live, so to speak. So that's also because of your practice of the generosity in the past. So we can see karma, how karma works, so to speak. Like wealth, fame, our appearance in terms of, good looking, not good looking, all these are consequences of our actions. And they are actually rooted in 6 paramitas, so one can see that. We are always advised by our teachers saying that if you want to become rich or if you want to have wealth, the best way to accumulate wealth is by practicing generosity. In Tibetan Buddhism, and not Tibetan Buddhism, in Tibetan community, we have the tradition of doing pujas, like Zambala, for example, or there are many other gods. Those are god of wealth, Zambala and Rais Ravana. Anyways, Zambala is most well known, I guess. Kuber, right? Kuber is another name of the king of the gods. So we do those things, puja, but we don't practice generosity. So I'm thinking that how can they help me? I may be saying something that's, a little bit against all these things. I'm not saying there is no point in doing those things. There is. But even if you're doing Zambala, you have to offer something. Only when you offer something, in return, you get something. But even if you don't practice Zambala or Kuber, if you just practice generosity, it's the same thing. So we don't really need a God, right? I'm not against these things. I'm born in this, in this culture, and I love this culture. Actually, it's a very good culture, and one should do that. But we have to keep in mind, without giving, there is no receiving. We are strange, We think we can receive a lot without giving anything. Maybe that is because of what? Because of the, what you call that, mental poverty. There's a word in English, it's mental poverty. So what's the word actually? Mental poverty, right? You may be very rich, but mentally you are very poor. So mental poverty. I think that's the word. Because of our greediness. So then, how can I really, have those results, when I'm not really at all, practicing it properly? So anyways, those are the things that we can think of. So now we kind of understand the importance of, when we say practice 6 paramita, and when we say practice the law of the karma, then now we understand it, okay, how I'm supposed to practice that. The base of that is 6 paramitas, right? Any of them. It can be more than that. But those are the best ground of practicing karma. In short, it just simply means do your best when it comes to the 6 paramita. Because everyone is not on the same level, so we may not be able to do it on the same level. But as long as I honestly, sincerely, purely practiced, there 100% will be a result of those, those actions of the 6 paramitas.
Ok. Entonces, primero que todo, quiero agradecerles por las donaciones que me han hecho llegar. Confirmo que las he recibido y estoy muy, muy agradecido. La generosidad es la base de la riqueza, ¿sí? Si yo soy pobre en esta vida, o sea, si tengo una situación económica difícil y apretada, eso es porque fui avaro en las vidas pasadas. En cambio, si tengo hoy una buena situación económica, es porque en las vidas pasadas fui generoso. Ahora, no tengo que ser rico, ¿sí? No se trata de ser una persona tremendamente adinerada, sino alguien que tenga una buena situación, que pueda, digamos, cubrir los gastos de vivir una vida, sí, digna, digamos, con salud, educación, techo, comida, todo eso, ¿sí? En la cultura budista, digamos, se dice que la situación económica, el buen nombre, la fama, aún la apariencia física que nosotros tenemos, todo es el resultado de haber o no haber cultivado las 6 paramitas, ¿sí? Entonces se dice que si queremos tener dinero, entonces lo mejor es practicar la generosidad. Y pues en la cultura tibetana también existen las puyas, los rituales con los que se solicita algo. Entonces hay puyas a Zambala o también a Kubei, que se conoce como el rey de los dioses, y se supone que entonces a través de estas puyas nosotros podemos recibir riqueza, digamos. Pero podría uno preguntarse, ¿y de qué sirven las pullas si no somos generosos? ¿Cómo podrían ayudarme unas pullas si yo sigo teniendo, digamos, avaricia y pobreza mental? Solamente cuando nosotros ofrecemos algo podemos recibir. Es muy curioso que nosotros creamos que sin ofrecer nada, sin dar nada, se pueda recibir algo. Entonces, aun cuando se hacen esas pullas, pues dentro de la puya se incluye algún tipo de ofrecimiento, algún tipo de ofrenda, ¿sí? Eso también nos ayuda a sobreponernos a nuestra pobreza mental, a nuestra avaricia. Entonces, la pregunta podría ser, ¿y cómo puedo yo practicar la ley del karma? Y la respuesta es muy fácil, por medio de las 6 paramitas. Ahora, cada uno de nosotros estamos en un nivel diferente, ¿sí? Que depende también de nuestro karma. Entonces, se trata de que cada uno de nosotros tratemos de hacer lo mejor que podamos. Ok, Khempo.
All right, now the second characteristics of the karma. So the second characteristic of the karma is recipient of the karma. So who will receive the karma? You know, of course, the one who has accumulated the karma will be the one who will receive the karma. So that's self. You know, there are these terms in Buddhism. The term is hold oneself accountable for one's own karma. So meaning that whatever is happening or may be happening with my life, who is accountable for that? Who is responsible for that? So Buddha says, you are the one who is responsible for your own life. Of course, it's spoken from the karma point of view. Hold yourself accountable for your actions or for your karma. Hold oneself, we can also say, accountable for one's own karma. Buddha in many sutras says that the karma that I have accumulated will not be ripened, you know, to a tree or to an ocean, to a mountain, or even to my family members. Even if I did this for their sake. We do a lot of good karmas, accumulate good karma, bad karma for the sake of many other people. But they will not be the one who will experience the result of whatever karma I may have done on their behalf or for them. I alone will be the one who will receive that karma. In Nagarjuna's letter to a friend actually says it very clearly. This karma that you have accumulated for, you know, for the sake of your friends, families, even enemy, your teacher, whoever it might be, they will not be the one who will experience the result of that. You and you alone, you know. So you meaning I, right? So your 5 aggregate in the coming lifetimes. In the coming lifetimes, so you alone will have to take upon all those karmas. This, I think, we understand to some extent, but sometimes we think that perhaps we can share the karma. So here, there is no exactly sharing karma from that point of view, so to say. Okay.
Bueno, ahora vamos a pasar a la segunda característica. que podríamos llamarla como el receptor del karma, refiriéndose a quién es el que recibe los efectos de un karma que yo creé. Pues por supuesto yo, porque yo fui el que lo generé. En el Dharma entonces hay un dicho que dice, responsabilicémonos de nuestro propio karma, ¿sí? Y esto viene desde tiempos del Buda, cuando él dijo que nosotros somos responsables de nuestra propia vida, de nuestro propio karma. No podemos culpar a otros de eso. Buda dijo que el karma que yo acumulo no madurará en un árbol o en un río o en una montaña o en mis familiares. Solamente podrá madurar en mí, dado que yo fui el que, digamos, acometí esas acciones. Y las buenas acciones que yo haga en nombre de otros o para el beneficio de otros, no madurará en otros. Ellos no experimentarán ese karma, sino que yo mismo lo experimentaré. Eso mismo dice Nagarjuna en el texto Carta a un amigo, donde él dice que otros no experimentarán el karma que yo, como esos 5 agregados, las 5 escandas, he acumulado en vidas pasadas, que sí yo mismo lo experimentaré en el futuro. A veces creemos que podemos compartir el karma, pero esto no es así, es una ilusión. El karma no se puede compartir. Okay.
This means that the karma that one have accumulated, unless it is destroyed, one will never escape from it, actually. So the word unless it is destroyed is very important, because how can we destroy that is concerned, it can be destroyed with an antidote, right? So if you apply an antidote, definitely then we can make an end to that karma. But if we have not at all applied any antidote in terms of purification, then that karma will, definitely bring about its result, given that it meets with the right conditions, so to speak. It means that karma, is it means karma is what? Karma in its own nature never fails, actually. Karma never fails to produce its result. Yes, unless it is destroyed. So therefore, like we hear stories that even after thousands of lifetimes, or actually millions of lifetimes, one still experiences the karmic results. So how is that possible? That's possible because there was a karmic seed in my mind stream, and I had never destroyed that karmic seed with any kind of antidote whatsoever. And now that karmic seed has met with a condition that helped it to manifest. And now after all these hundreds and thousands of years, I'm actually experiencing that. Then there are many life stories, about many other people who, after many kalpas, thousands of years, one experiences the karmic results. So it means these are the karma that one experiences or karmic results that are ripened in many, many future lifetimes, after many, many future, lifetimes. Okay.
Esto significa que el karma que he acumulado, a menos que se elimine antes, no podremos escapar de su resultado, ¿sí? Pero esta palabra, eliminar el karma, es muy importante. ¿Cómo podemos destruir el karma entonces? Pues con un antídoto. El antídoto o la purificación, entonces, nos permite eliminar ese karma antes de que produzca resultado. Pero si no aplicamos un antídoto o no aplicamos una purificación, entonces el resultado será seguro siempre y cuando las condiciones sean las correctas. Desde este punto de vista, el karma no falla, es absolutamente infalible, ¿sí? Puede suceder que el karma se dé después de millones de vidas, pero aún así el karma producirá el resultado. Y hay muchas historias de cómo una acción produjo resultado después de cientos o millones de vidas, aún kalpas. En las yakatas del Buda, en las historias que el Buda contaba de vidas anteriores, él cuenta cómo esto fue así. Hay muchas historias sobre esto.
Actually, that's third category. I think third category or third characteristic of the karma. Yes, so the third characteristic is that, that karmic results will never deceive you, actually, right? So, or we can say there is no escaping from karmic results unless it is destroyed. Same thing. This one is the third category. In Jewel Ornament of Liberation, Gamboba tells the life story, of this individual, a household person. It's a very long story, but in short, he was almost 100 years old, and then he wanted to become monk. So he went to Buddha's place in Saravasti, but he, when he went there, then Buddha was not there. Then he asked other senior monks like Kashyapa and Shariputra, I think. Anyways, so they all sort of rejected him, saying that, at this age, it's not possible. So anyway, so to make it very short, then Buddha, later on, then he was just sitting there at the door, I guess, at the gate. Then Buddha came back, and then he told the whole story. Then he became the follower. Buddha ordained him, not Buddha, but I think Mangalputra ordained him as a monk. So to make this story very short, he became an arhat later on. Shariputra and all the others didn't see that he could become an arhat, didn't see the seed that he could become an arhat. But Buddha saw that. Buddha saw that in him. And then as the story make it short, then Buddha tells about how he actually accumulated that seed like many during the time of Buddha Kashyapa, actually, so to speak. So I think this is the story about how a dog chased a pig, and then they just happened to go around the stupa. I think that's the story about it. So stories like that. There are actually many stories like that. So now we can see that how karmic seeds, because karma is, there are two, right? One, this karma that is cause is a seed. Then other karma is both cause and result, okay? Cause and result. This life is karma, but then that karma is what? The result, right? It's a result. But then there are these other karmas, karmic seeds in my mind stream for my future existence. That's also karma, but those are karmic seeds. So those are the seeds. Here we're talking about those karmic seeds in our mind stream, that how tiny it may be, if they are not destroyed either by applying antidote or by experiencing them. The other way of destroying the karma is going through it, actually. If I had gone through that, then of course, there will be no more karma left. Let's say I've not gone through it, and I also have not done the purification, then that karma will, produce result in the future, given that it meets with the condition, so to speak. So that's it. Okay.
De hecho, pues esta es la tercera característica, que podríamos resumirla como: los resultados kármicos nunca nos decepcionarán o abandonarán, a no ser que se destruyan antes. Y pues esto quiere decir que no importa cuánto tiempo pasen, los resultados kármicos se darán. En la joya ornamental de la liberación de Gampopa cuenta la historia de un señor durante la vida del Buda que tenía casi 100 años y pues a sus casi 100 años quiso ser monje. Entonces fue a donde estaba la sangha y preguntó por el Buda y le dijeron no está. Entonces lo atendieron Kashyapa o Shariputra, ¿sí? Y ellos trataron de ver si este señor tenía digamos, las semillas suficientes para ser un monje y vieron que no, y además por su avanzada edad lo rechazaron. Él, muy triste, se sentó ahí en la puerta con la resolución de ser un monje. En ese momento el Buda regresó y lo encontró ahí. El Señor le contó la historia y dijo, sí, ordénenlo, o sea, hay que recibirlo como un monje. Entonces lo ordenaron y al poco tiempo se convirtió en un arhat. Entonces Shariputra y Kashyapa vinieron a preguntarle al Buda que cómo era posible, que ellos no habían visto razón suficiente o semilla suficiente para que este señor pudiera ordenarse y mucho menos que pudiera ser un arhat. Y el Buda les dijo, lo que pasa es que ustedes no tienen, digamos, suficiente visión. Ustedes solamente pueden ver 500 vidas atrás. En cambio, yo puedo ver, pues, kalpas atrás. Y durante la época anterior del Buda Kashyapa, este señor era un perro o un cerdo, y el perro empezó a perseguir al cerdo y empezaron a darle vueltas a una estupa, ¿sí? El perro ladrándole al cerdo, el cerdo corriendo adelante. Y pues esa es la semilla. No, yo no recuerdo si el señor era el perro o era el cerdo, no importa porque ambos le dieron la vuelta a la estupa. Esa era la semilla que este señor tenía para en esta vida poder ser un monje, ser ordenado y alcanzar el nivel de arhat. Entonces, no importa qué tan pequeña sea la semilla, ahí está y producirá un resultado, a no ser que sea exterminado con un antídoto o a no ser que se experimente. Esas son las únicas dos formas en las que una semilla kármica deja de existir, ya sea porque la removemos por medio de un antídoto o porque la experimentamos y una vez que da resultado, pues ya deja de tener el potencial.
Okay. Okay, to make more clear, in Gampopa's book, at the very end, there are many stories. And there is this story about this household, and his name is Shri Jeta. But there is this life story, but he doesn't really, in Gampopa's book, it doesn't tell this story that actually I told you about the pig and the dog. It doesn't tell that. It does. This story about the pig and then the dog actually is told by Buddha in Jataka Tales, I think. It's vague in my head, but it's very well known to us because we often debate on how seed for liberation can be created, so to speak. So if you read the life story, you will find the life story of this individual. It's very beautiful, but you will not find this particular story that I told, so to say. Also, there is this, story about Ashoka. I think I've told you many times, but again, during Buddha Kashyapa's time, Ashoka was this very young boy. And then he saw Kashyapa in a field walking toward him. And then he really wanted to offer Kashyapa something, have anything. Then he just, offered handful of sand to Buddha Kashyapa. This is the story. Karma of offering sand to the Buddha Kashyapa. Then he later on had this life of the great king called Ashoka. Ashoka, there are different opinions, but into parinirvana, and he was one of the greatest patron, sponsored actually, as we understand that he is, so anyway, so these are the stories that people generally tell about how a little karma, but a karmic seed that one has, planted in one's mind aeons and aeons before, given that they are not destroyed, they can be ripened, again, they can be ripened given they meet with the right conditions in the future. So now imagine how this countless lifetimes and the karma that we've accumulated during this, something that we cannot even imagine in our head, So we have those karmas, but we don't have to be afraid of that. Actually, these karmas can be just very easily washed away, actually, through the realization of emptiness, actually through 6 paramitas. But that has to be, very highly developed practice of the paramitas. Then yes, it's, there is nothing, there's no need for us to be afraid of those things actually at all. Because the good thing about negative karma or karma is that they can be destroyed, both good and bad karmas.
Entonces, para aclarar, les comento que al final del libro de Gampopa hay un montón de historias. Y ahí en ese libro de Gampopa realmente él cuenta la historia de un hombre común, de una persona común y ordinaria que se llama Sri Yeta. La historia del perro y del cerdo esa no la encuentran en el Buda, en el libro de Gampopa, pero pues esta es una historia muy, muy conocida que nosotros, digamos, repetimos muchísimo, ¿sí? Les voy a contar otra historia, la de Ashoka, del gran emperador Ashoka, que durante el tiempo del Buda Kashyapa, Ashoka estaba, pues era un niño muy pequeño que estaba en el campo y de pronto vio venir al Buda Kashyapa y quiso ofrecerle algo, pero pues no tenía nada, era un niño en el campo. Lo único que hizo entonces fue agacharse, coger una manotada de arena y eso fue lo que le ofreció al Buda Kashyapa. Pero pues esta ofrenda que le hizo al Buda Kashyapa fue la semilla para que él después, mucho tiempo después, ya durante la era del Buda Sakyamuni, el rey Kashyapa, naciera 110 años después de que el Buda hubiera muerto y se hubiera convertido en un gran emperador de la India y un gran benefactor del Dharma. Estos son ejemplos de cómo semillitas, que podríamos decir muy chiquitas, como por ejemplo ofrecer una manotada de arena, madurarán cuando se encuentren las condiciones correctas. Tenemos entonces karmas inimaginables, porque pues desde tiempos sin principio hemos venido acumulándolos y están esperando ahí a que las condiciones sean correctas para poder madurar. Pero lo bueno es que el karma se puede eliminar por medio de las prácticas de las 6 paramitas. Entonces, pues no debemos temerle, no debemos entonces salir ahorita agobiados pensando que tenemos una cantidad inimaginable de karma esperando ahí a caernos encima, porque todo karma puede ser eliminado, puede ser destruido. Esto es algo bueno sobre el karma. Okay.
Let's check the time. Okay, so I think I'll take some questions now because I don't want to rush. So it's better I take some questions now.
Bueno, entonces como ya llevamos casi hora y media, entonces mejor parar acá y el Khempo así tendrá tiempo para contestar algunas preguntas. Creo que ya hay preguntas en el chat. Déjenme miro, sí. There are some questions in the chat already. So let me start. So the good or bad karma that we generate in this lifetime, we won't see the results in this life. They will always be seen in the future lives.
Yes, but remember, we also talked about how some of very heavy karma can be ripened in this way. There are some karmas, heavy duty karma, let's put it this way, that can be ripened in this lifetime. And then there's some other heavy duty karma that is ripened in the very next lifetime. And then there are those karmas that are ripened in the future lifetimes. So basically there are these 3 different, time period, how karma can be ripened depending on their nature, characteristics, and yes. So.
Sí, la respuesta corta es sí. El karma de esta vida lo experimentaremos en vidas futuras, excepto los karmas que tienen consecuencia directa, digamos, que esos podrían madurar en esta vida o en la vida inmediatamente siguiente, aún sin pasar por el bardo, recuerden. Entonces, digamos que el tiempo en que madura un karma también tiene que ver con su naturaleza, con qué tan pesado es. Second question. When we want to accumulate good karma and we make good actions and we think that we're seeding this seed, how do we know that the motivation is correct? Knowing that is our ego who wants to experience that good karma?
Okay, but I think it's, as far as motivation is concerned, that actually one can really see it. There's no doubt about that. But it is true that, okay, if I am, practicing Dharma for myself, that actually is not a bad karma, okay? So, ego itself is not really negative, actually, so to speak. But if you negative, we need to understand what negative means. Negative is when we try to harm, hurt other people. And if my motivation is that way, then that's negative. But simply because I am, doing something for myself, that will not make you a bad person, actually. Or, that's not a negative karma. From the karma point of view, that's not a negative karma. So ego, from this point of view, ego, is not always source of negative things. Most of the time, yes, but ego as in, ego as in self-clinging, right? Self-clinging. Meaning like self-clinging as in, self-motivated, yes. But self-motivated without, without bringing any harm to other people, then that's, not negative. But if you are self-motivated with the, self-motivated, but at the same time, if you, from that, if you motivate to bring harm to other people, then that's, that's negative. So it depends, actually, really.
Bueno, entonces la motivación es fácil de ver, digamos, si estemos siendo motivados por nosotros mismos o por los demás. Si yo hago una buena acción pensando en mí mismo, pues esto no es mal karma, ¿sí? Digamos, el ego solito no quiere decir negativo, ¿sí? Negativo es cuando tratamos de hacer daño a otras personas, ¿sí? El significado negativo es cuando nosotros queremos dañar a otros de manera consciente. Pero solo hacer algo por nosotros, digamos, pues es sin hacer daño a otros, eso no es karma negativo. Entonces, una acción basada en el ego, pues no siempre es negativa, depende más bien de si la motivación egoísta incluye dañar a otros o no. Pero obviamente, si nuestra motivación es egoísta y además al ejecutar la acción hacemos daño a otros, pues eso sí da resultado como un karma negativo. Next question. Is there something that we can do to ensure connection with the Dharma in future lives? ¿Hay algo que podamos hacer en esta vida para asegurar que tengamos conexión con el Dharma en vidas futuras?
Yes, I think everyone knows this, actually. Yeah, you just need to be in Dharma, then that's pretty much it. Make a stronger connection, the stronger connection, the better connection we have with the people. It's not only about actually Dharma, it's just about everything. When there is this strong bond, when you create a very strong bond that lasts for like many, many lifetimes.
Sí, probablemente todos ya sabemos la respuesta a esto, y es practicar el Dharma, porque pues por medio de la práctica del Dharma es como nosotros practicamos el vínculo, y pues esa es la raíz de que después volvamos a encontrar el Dharma, ¿sí? En la medida en que nosotros construyamos un vínculo fuerte, este vínculo no solamente dura una vida, sino varias vidas. Entonces, pues esa es la forma de asegurarnos de volver a encontrar el Dharma. Khempo dice que las tendencias se repiten de vida en vida. ¿Cómo entender que una persona tenga una buena vida si tiene tendencias negativas? Es decir, que las tendencias de alguna manera atrapan. ¿Cómo? Uy, no, muchas preguntas al tiempo. ¿Cómo? Sí, bueno, voy una por una. Khempo, you say that the tendencies repeat life after life. How can we understand that a person has a good life if he has negative tendencies? I think you already answered
that. Okay, so every sentient being have two impressions always there, negative impressions and positive impressions. Let's also say neutral, but neutral doesn't matter. No one is without that. Even bodhisattvas have tendencies. Of course, we cannot compare ourselves to them. They still have the very subtle impressions of obscuration or ignorance. We can still that. Only Buddha do not have this. So, and these are the cause of karma, actually, that we accumulate. We accumulate karma through these tendencies in our mind of the positive, of the negative. So therefore, we can, in some way, we can say karma creates karma. Actually, it is from the tendency point of view, it is very true. Positive tendency tend to develop more positive tendency. Of course, that's the foundation, negative, so karma tendency. So that's how it works. But as far as how we are doing individually is concerned, then by observing our actually outer physical behavior, we can see it more clearly. Our emotions are seen through our, through our behaviors of the physical behaviors of the speech of the body, the, let's say, body language. Through the body language, we can pretty much read to some extent their emotions, their feelings, all of that. And through their behavior, we also can see that. So these are, let's say, there are those signs. Signs are usually really our behavior toward oneself, toward other people. So that's how we can see how we are doing and other people are doing. What we can do about that is concerned, then by observing, analyzing myself, examining myself, by observing my own behavior, and developing that mindfulness toward my negative behaviors, and trying to change my attitude with the help of meditation, with the help of teachings, remembering the teachings, all that. Actually, these are sources. Remembering teaching is the best. We call it recollection, recollecting the instructions, the teachings, especially regarding the karma, should help one to change those patterns, of the mental patterns. If the mental patterns are changed, physical pattern behavior will be changed automatically.
Bueno, entonces, todos tenemos impresiones o tendencias positivas, negativas y neutras. Las neutras no importan, pues porque son neutras, pero todos, aún los bodhisattvas, tienen todavía tendencias acumuladas de vidas pasadas. Y de hecho, pues el karma acumula más karma, el karma crea más karma. Y también las tendencias se refuerzan. Entonces, si tenemos tendencias positivas, eso nos lleva a generar más hábitos positivos. Si tenemos tendencias negativas, eso nos lleva a generar más tendencias o hábitos negativos. Con la gente, entonces, nosotros podemos tratar de alguna manera, leer eso. ¿Y cómo lo leemos? Pues leer las emociones no es tan fácil, pero las emociones se manifiestan a través del lenguaje corporal y de las acciones que ejecutamos. Entonces, así es como nosotros podemos ver, digamos, las emociones de las personas que son el resultado de su karma. También nosotros podemos examinarlo en nuestro comportamiento. Eso lo hacemos por medio del desarrollo de la atención plena, de la meditación y de las enseñanzas. Todas estas son fuentes de sabiduría que nos llevan a entender nuestro karma. Y como antídoto, pues lo mejor es recordar al maestro y a las enseñanzas que hemos recibido, especialmente sobre las enseñanzas del karma. Así entonces desarrollamos unos patrones mentales que nos pueden llevar a revertir esas impresiones kármicas. Next question is, how can people who don't know the methods can get rid of the karma? People who doesn't know the dharma, how can they get rid of the karma?
Okay. I don't, generally speaking, the negative karmas are antidote for positive karma, and positive karmas are antidote for negative karma. Let's put it this way. So therefore, by engaging in positive karmas, automatically sometimes helps to overcome those negative karmas, you know, because they are antidote to each other, actually. Generally, we say dharma and non-dharma, you know. So non-dharma activities tend to destroy dharmic activities. Dharmic activities tend to destroy non-dharmic activities. So it doesn't have to be a Buddhist from that point of view. But of course, when you have more, let's say, knowledge about how karma can be purified, then one can more powerfully and more, you know, more powerfully can purify the karmas, right? So therefore, those like people who are not Buddhist, the way they, let's say, purify their karma or overcome their karma is by, you know, by being a good person, I guess. In general, we can say that, right? If you you know, are a good person, and if you really try to become a good person, I think that's really one way of removing the karma. But again, it is said in the sutras that we have to have this intention of removing the negative karma actually behind those activities. Like in general, we regret is of course one of the most, powerful, but we are going to talk about purification also, but regret is one of the most powerful antidote for removing the negative karmas. Regretting one's actions, the past actions. And then I think as a human being trying to really change oneself, regretting one's past aggressive nature, and then trying to become a better person, trying to be a nicer person, all these are to some extent, an act of positive change, mentally, physically, both. So I'm thinking this also helps to improve one's karma as well, correct, in general. Yeah.
Okay. Entonces, pues lo que se dice es que el karma negativo es antídoto del karma positivo y el karma positivo es antídoto del karma negativo. Entonces, se dice el dharma es antídoto del no dharma y el no dharma es antídoto del dharma. Entonces, un no budista puede no tener conocimiento, ¿sí? Pero de todas maneras sus acciones buenas son antídotos para las acciones malas y las acciones malas son antídotos para las acciones buenas, ¿sí? Obviamente, si nosotros tenemos conocimiento, pues entonces podremos... hay alguien con el micrófono abierto y nos está generando ruido, creo que es Mar 66, gracias. Si nosotros tenemos conocimiento, entonces podemos usar los métodos mucho más eficientes para purificar el karma. Pero los no budistas que no tienen conocimiento de los métodos, purifican el karma por medio de las buenas acciones. Los sutras dicen que nosotros debemos tener la intención para purificar el karma negativo, ¿sí? Esa intención nosotros la expresamos como arrepentimiento, y esto es un método muy poderoso, muy eficiente para eliminar el karma negativo. Pero el que no tenga ese conocimiento, pues simplemente trata de ser una buena persona, ser una mejor persona. Y entonces este cambio positivo en su vida sirve para eliminar los karmas negativos. ¿Es karma deterministic? ¿Es el karma determinista?
You mean Terminator? What does that mean?
I think you already answered. The deterministic means that it's infallible, that it will produce a result, and I think you already answered that. Yes, it produces a result unless it is destroyed before the result comes.
Okay, I actually don't understand that word, so I have no idea what that means.
Okay. Sí, el Khempo dice que él no entiende la palabra determinista. No sé si es que no existe en inglés y yo estoy inventándomela. Si alguien me puede decir cuál es la traducción de determinista, entonces podríamos hacer la pregunta más adelante. Next question. If the negative karma can be eliminated or cleaned, does it mean that the positive karma can also be eliminated or cleaned by some action?
Yes, it's same. Of course, it's same. Karma is both the producer and production. Earlier there was a question. So I'm just saying, I don't know if I understood that. It produces, and then it is also production, right? The karma. So yes, both negative and positive karma can be 100% eliminated, no doubt. That's why we call about liberation the term liberation, there are many terms. First, liberation is liberation from both the positive and negative karma, actually. Let's say first it is from negative karma. Then we, let's say, achieve higher rebirth, meet with Dharma. Then it is about, liberation from both the positive and negative karma. How can we become liberated is by removing the source of karma, actually. So those are negative emotions. And okay, so here I actually told this already. The first two truths, the truth of suffering and the truth of origination. Truth of suffering is the production, is the result, is what we are going through right now. The universe, the sentient beings, and our existence is truth of suffering. What produced that is truth of origination. The truth of origination, there are two kinds. The truth of origination as in karma, the law of the karma, and the truth of origination as in, the klesha, the negative emotions. So karmas are born from, those negative emotions. But here, when we say negative emotion, it actually means all kinds of emotions, positive, negative, it's included in that. Because it's rooted in the ego clinging. So here, when we talk about liberation, there are those steps. In order for me to be liberated from, let's say, negative karma, I use positive karma. But in order to get, let's say, liberation from both negative and positive karma, then I have to eliminate the seed, the cause, which is then, all the negative emotions in terms of positive, negative, both actually. So, and then to do that, then I have to eliminate the source of negative emotion, which is ego clinging. So you see, until the time I truly realize the emptiness of self, there is no true liberation actually from negative emotions, from karma, and then from samsara. But there are those temporary liberations as far as karma is concerned, temporary liberation from three lower realm. When is that? That is when we are not born there actually. When we're born in higher realm, that's a temporary liberation. And that happened because of, liberation from negative karma. But the permanent liberation that we're talking about can only happen when the truth of origination, when the truth of origination is uprooted from the root by the truth of path, the five path. So it becomes then of course, as a result of that is the noble truth of cessation, correct? So that's why we have to, we have to analyze how the noble truth are connected and how, they can become antidote for each other.
Ok. Entonces, sí, es igual. El karma es tanto la causa como el resultado, o sea, es el que produce y es a su vez producido. Y entonces, sí, la liberación implica la liberación tanto de karmas positivos como negativos. Pero para eso debemos remover la causa, y la causa del karma son las emociones. Por eso entonces podemos ver la verdad del sufrimiento. La verdad del sufrimiento como resultado da este universo, los seres y su karma. Y también debemos poder ver la verdad del origen del sufrimiento. Y esto es la ley del karma y las emociones perturbadoras. Y por emociones perturbadoras son todas emociones buenas y malas que han surgido por la ilusión del ego, ¿sí? Entonces, hasta que no realicemos la vacuidad del yo, hasta que no tengamos la experiencia vívida de la ausencia de existencia inherente del yo, entonces no nos liberaremos de las emociones, por consiguiente no nos liberaremos del karma y por lo tanto no estaremos liberados del samsara. Puede haber una liberación parcial, que es liberarnos de los 3 reinos inferiores, y eso se hace por medio de eliminar el karma negativo. Pero es más importante volver a ver la verdad de la originación, de la originación del karma, digamos, del sufrimiento, y esto lo logramos por medio del camino de los 5 pasos. ¿Sí? Eso nos lleva entonces a la otra noble verdad, la cesación del sufrimiento.
Actually, it's a very good question. You know, there are 2 types of karma generally we talk about. Contaminated karma. What is contaminated karma? Both the positive, negative, neutral karma are called contaminated. They are contaminated by our ego clinging, self-clinging, and emotion. So they are all contaminated. So this contaminated karma are karma that brings about the appearances of the 6 cyclic existences, right? Negative karma brings about the 3 lower realm. Positive karma brings about the upper realms. Nonetheless, they are, you know, producers of the samsaric mundane experiences of the sentient beings. So those are together is called contaminated karma. Now, uncontaminated or non-contaminated karma is the path, 5 paths. They are non-contaminated because they are antidote for contaminated karma. So that means it's, you know, antidote for both the, it's antidote for truth of origination of the karma, truth of origination, negative emotion. It's antidote for that. So, and in general, we call them truth of the path. From the 5 path, the truth, no, 5 path, yes, the truth of path, correct? The truth of path, that wisdom of learning, reflecting, meditating that one has, that wisdom is termed as non-contaminated, actually. They are not contaminated mainly by the ego and the characteristics of the emotions whatsoever, so that become non-contaminated. So now you can see that is the non-contaminated dharma or non-contaminated karma are the ones that brings the permanent liberation of, you know, 3 kinds of liberations.
Could you repeat that last part, please?
There are 3 liberations, right, of the Charvaka, Pratyeka, Buddha, Bodhisattva.
Yes.
So these are these we can call them permanent, you know, result, and they are result of the non-contaminated karma or non-contaminated dharma. In Abhidharma, actually, they are termed as contaminated dharma, non-contaminated dharma. Contaminated dharma or dharma belonging to samsara. Non-contaminated dharma are dharma belonging to nirvana.
Bueno, entonces realmente es una buena pregunta. Y aquí vamos a introducir un nuevo término, digamos, que es el karma contaminado. Y está contaminado porque ya sea karma positivo, negativo o neutro, todo está contaminado por el ego, por la ilusión del ego. Este karma contaminado es el que entonces resulta en la experiencia de los 6 reinos, los 6 reinos de la existencia. Los reinos bajos, obviamente, son el resultado del karma contaminado negativo y los 6 reinos superiores es el resultado del karma contaminado positivo. Esa es la experiencia de los seres sensibles. Ahora, también hay un karma no contaminado. Este es el que se acumula por medio del Dharma, del camino del Dharma, de los 5 pasos. Entonces, este karma no contaminado sirve como antídoto al karma contaminado, ¿sí? Esto tiene que ver con la verdad de la originación, la verdad del camino de los 5 pasos no contaminados por el ego, y de las características, pero ahí perdí, no sé las características de que se mencionaba. Después dijo que había 3 tipos de liberaciones. La liberación de los Shravakas, la liberación, digamos, de los 3 caminos. El camino de los Shravakas, el de los Pratyekabudas y el de los Bodhisattvas. Este se llama, que es un karma que produce resultados permanentes porque es el resultado de un karma no contaminado. Entonces, el karma contaminado tiene como resultado el samsara y el karma no contaminado tiene como resultado el nirvana. Very good question.
To do one clarification, you know, from the 3 kinds of liberation of Sharvaka, Pratyeka, Bodhisattva. Sharvaka and Pratyeka Buddha are actually not permanent. They can be called occasional, you know. But Bodhisattva's liberation, which is the Buddhahood, is permanent.
Yes. Solamente para hacer una clarificación, el resultado kármico que lleva al estado de Shravaka o de Pratyeka Buddha no es permanente, se llama condicional, mientras que el karma que lleva al camino del Bodhisattva sí es permanente. Next question. It is not clear to me. I understood that the good actions or good karma of this life would be reflected or would be seen in another life. If it is like that, why not in this life?
I guess there are 2 reasons. One, this life already is a result. You know, we already exist. So therefore, we can't change the entire life. It's not a possibility, actually. You cannot change your family, you know. Anyways, you can't change the entire life. Here and there we experience some changes, but that may be not because of, you know, because of conditions. So therefore, one do not generally experience, you know, the result of the karma in this life. The other reason is because those karma are not, you know, heavy enough, matured enough to be experienced in this life. Like I said before, I already answered that. There are karma that can be experienced in this life. But if we don't, that means those karma are not matured enough, do not have enough potential to manifest, you know, in this life. So they lack that potential.
Bueno, entonces la razón es que esta vida es el resultado de karmas anteriores, ¿sí? Entonces, pues ya no podemos cambiar los karmas que ya maduraron. Y esta vida que estamos experimentando es la maduración de karmas anteriores, ¿sí? Por ejemplo, no podemos cambiar nuestra familia, no podemos cambiar nuestra apariencia, ¿sí? No podemos cambiar lo que ya somos. No podemos cambiar entonces la experiencia del resultado kármico que es nuestra vida. La otra razón por la cual no podemos experimentar el karma sembrado en esta vida, en esta misma vida, es porque no tiene el peso suficiente. Ya expliqué que el tiempo de maduración del karma está relacionado digamos, el potencial de ese karma, que tiene que ver con qué tanto peso kármico tenga. Entonces, pues es difícil, digamos, acumular un karma bueno lo suficientemente pesado o con un suficiente potencial como para que se vea manifestado en esta misma vida. Pocas palabras, hay que ser
Okay, that's a
paciente.
very good question. So again, generally 3 things must come together for karma to ripe: cause, conditions, and the timing. When cause, condition, and the time, the appropriate time comes together, no one can stop it from that. But when these cause and conditions and then the time is missing, then karma cannot be ripened. So if karma did ripe, that means these 3 things came together: the cause, the condition, and the right time. There always is a right timing, actually. So that's the reason. This is the better answer, actually, for generally.
Bueno, y recordando otra cosa, pues que puede dar una mejor respuesta a la pregunta, es que se dice que para que el karma produzca un resultado se necesitan tres elementos, que se junten 3 elementos. El primero, la causa; segundo, las condiciones correctas; y tercero, el tiempo correcto. Si se juntan causas, condiciones y tiempo correcto, se puede decir el karma es absolutamente inevitable. No hay forma de evitarlo. Pero si están las causas y las condiciones y no está el tiempo correcto, pues entonces el karma no puede dar el resultado. Entonces, digamos, esta es la mejor respuesta a la pregunta de por qué no podemos experimentar los resultados kármicos de las buenas acciones de esta vida en esta misma vida. Next question. As was explained, the karma cannot be shared. So how can we understand in a Sangha
Okay,
that
so
the
there is
merit may be shared, but the karma not?
there is a karma, call it collective karma, right? Collective karma. If, when a lot of people participate together in an action, that's how you share the karma, actually. Let's say you are saving someone. When you save someone, there are many people, who participates. So if you are one of those participants, then we are all sharing the karma in terms of we are creating a collective karma, a good collective karma. That's called sharing, actually. It's sharing not in the sense you give your karma to other people give you. That is not a possibility. But because all these people together engaged in that one particular activity or a course, then we together, let's say, create this collective karma, so to speak. So that's really the meaning of it, not in the sense you can give to each other. And because of this collective karma, there is a collective result. And at the same time, there is also an individual result too, actually.
Sí, entonces hay algo que se llama como karma colectivo. Y esto es lo que resulta cuando mucha gente, digamos, un grupo de personas participa en una misma acción. Por ejemplo, un curso del Dharma. Entonces se dice que se comparte ese karma positivo. Pero aquí se comparte es que se entiende que todos participaron en la causa y por consiguiente todos participarán del resultado. Pero no como que el karma se puede compartir en el sentido de que yo le pase mi karma a otra persona u otra persona me pase su karma a mí. Eso no puede suceder. Simplemente se habla de karma compartido cuando ha sido, digamos, generado por una misma acción en la que participaron varias personas.
You know, for example, can I give my pain literally to my sister or happiness? It's not a possibility, right? So we really understand that you cannot give your personal karma to anyone, actually. Is that clear what I'm saying?
Sí.
But if there is a collective karma, you know, then because it's collective karma, so we are affected by each other is because of collective karma. So.
Sí, entonces, pues, por ejemplo, si yo tengo un dolor, ¿cómo le puedo pasar mi dolor a mi hermana? Eso es imposible, ¿no es cierto? Mi dolor es mi dolor y no se lo puedo pasar a nadie más. Entonces, pues esta es la forma en la que tenemos que el karma no puede ser compartido. El karma colectivo es diferente porque es causado por una acción colectiva. Khempo, but there is this story of a master, I don't remember the name. He was giving a teaching in front of many people, and then he saw that someone was throwing a stone to a dog, and at the same time the master fell off the throne, and then he had the injury that the dog was going to produce in the dog. Do you know the story? Yes, of course.
Yes, that's actually more in terms of Tonglen practice. It's regarded with more of the Tonglen practice.
The master took the karma of the dog.
Yeah, it's not exactly taking of the karma, but actually that's not quite possible. But yes, with the Tonglen practice, you know, it says that with the power of, I guess, one's meditation, one can, you know, sort of, you know, we call it the diverting the path. It's kind of diverting. They create this diversion, you know, so to speak. So there is that, yes. But it's not literally, you know, taking someone's karma. It's more in terms of, we can do it ourselves too if, you know, through our practice. It basically means through the power of practice, the obstacles that we may face in the future, we can divert it, we can reduce it, we can minimize that, or we can altogether get rid of that, right? So that's really the story, actually, so to speak.
Bueno, yo le pregunté al Khempo sobre una historia que había leído y que él también conoce, de un maestro que estaba dando enseñanzas en frente de un público, digamos, y un perro se acercó y alguien cogió una piedra y se la tiró al perro, y el maestro vio eso. En ese momento él se cayó del trono en el que estaba sentado, y cuando se levantó tenía la misma herida que la piedra le hubiera producido al perro. Entonces yo le digo que si eso no es, digamos, compartir el karma del perro al haber tomado el sufrimiento que la piedra le hubiera producido y tomarlo para sí. Y entonces dice, bueno, esto tiene que ver con la práctica de Tonglen. Y en la práctica de Tonglen nosotros decimos que tomamos el sufrimiento de todos los seres y le entregamos nuestra felicidad. Esto hay que entenderlo no como que estamos tomando el karma de los demás, sino que estamos, digamos, influyendo, como torciendo el camino para que no se encuentren de frente con ese obstáculo, sino que puedan de alguna manera evitarlo. Eso es lo mismo que nosotros hacemos con nuestra práctica. Cuando nosotros hacemos cualquier tipo de práctica dármica, entonces estamos influyendo para que los obstáculos que se nos presentarían en el futuro a causa de nuestros karmas negativos tengan un impacto menor, tengan un impacto insignificante, y si la práctica es lo suficientemente fuerte y el karma no era lo suficientemente fuerte, podamos, digamos, eliminarlo por completo y no tengamos que enfrentarlo de ninguna manera.
You know, it's actually karma. Okay, it's a very good thing that you brought up. I have to have the karma to be helped. You have to have the karma to help. Understood? So in this case, also the bodhisattva or whoever is that, because oftentimes we hear from great masters saying that, well, unfortunately, there is no karmic bond between me and this individual. However, I may want, but because of lack of absence of karma, I'm not able to help that person. So that is there, even as a bodhisattva or a Buddha, when there is no karmic bridge, karmic connection, it gets very hard to help. But if there is, it doesn't mean I'm taking your karma actually, or somebody's taking your karma. But because we have this karma to be helped, then, you know, then it works. But to us, it seems like, okay, he took that. Actually didn't really take it actually, because he didn't become sick. The doctor, let's say, doesn't become sick, you know, because of the patient. But the doctor have to have the karma to be able to help that patient. If that patient doesn't have karma to be helped by that doctor, the doctor can't do anything. But maybe there's some other doctor, you know. So it's like that, actually. So it's again karma, actually, karmic connections.
Sí, de hecho, pues la pregunta mía fue buena porque también me ayuda a recordar algo, y es que se necesita tener karma para ayudar y también se necesita tener el karma para ser ayudado. Entonces, para poder ayudar a otra persona, digamos, tiene que existir un vínculo kármico. Si el vínculo kármico no existe, no es posible ayudar, ¿sí? Entonces, no siempre nosotros podemos ayudar a otros si ese vínculo kármico no existe. Esto puede verse también, digamos, con un paciente y su médico, ¿sí? El médico puede ayudarlo, puede liberarlo de la enfermedad, pero pues el médico no está tomando la enfermedad para sí. Simplemente con los métodos hábiles que él utiliza puede remover la enfermedad. Pero tiene que haber también un vínculo kármico entre médico y paciente. Puede ser que un médico no pueda curar a una persona porque no existe ese vínculo kármico suficiente, mientras que otro médico sí lo tiene y lo puede curar.
Okay, so maybe we can stop. I'm thinking all the questions will be similar about the karma. So if you think properly, questions you have and answer that I already gave, you may already have the answers actually. So I think we should stop now, and we can continue next Sunday. We may need to change again schedule a little bit, because now I have to teach in USA also. I'm teaching Sundays, but so far our time is good. But I will let you know, Carlos, as soon as I find out.
Ok, entonces bueno, vamos a parar por ahora. Yo me imagino que todas las preguntas que puedan haber hecho en el chat pues tienen que ver con el karma, y probablemente si ustedes reflexionan sobre lo que les enseñé, ustedes mismos podrán encontrar las respuestas a sus preguntas. Entonces por ahora voy a parar y nos volveremos a ver dentro de 8 días. Es posible que haya que cambiar la hora otra vez, porque pues él está en Estados Unidos en este momento y va a empezar otro curso en Estados Unidos. Pero por ahora, digamos, no es necesario cambiarla. Si hay un cambio, él me informará y obviamente nosotros les informaremos a ustedes. Pero por ahora nos veremos entonces dentro de 8 días a la misma hora, a las 10:30. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Khempo, for your teachings.
Thank you.
Thank you very
You
much.
guys are still locked down. You are still locked down.
We are still in lockdown. It is until the 30th of August. If it is not extended again, because yesterday we had
Tell
the
them you
highest
can't be locked
number.
down your entire, you know, like the whole year. Anyways, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
It's terrible, but just 2 days ago, we had the highest number of deaths, and yesterday we had an even higher number of deaths. So yesterday was the worst day of the pandemic, and the day before was the worst day until then. So we don't know what's going to happen. It might be extended, it might be changed a little bit, but we are in a dire situation. The economy is going down. Probably millions of people that were in the middle class
I see that.
now in poor. And yeah.
You guys are very obedient, you know, like really law abiding, the most law abiding people in the whole universe. I don't hear any protest or anything, you know. In America, they don't want to wear mask. So silly. If someone asks them to wear mask, they point gun at you like it's my, you know, right.
It's
so
my
silly.
right not to wear a mask, yes.
It's so silly. But anyways, I'm not sure if there is a, you know, a whole lot of point in locking down everybody. But anyways, well, I wish you all the very best. And then you have a great remaining of the day and keep practicing. I guess that's all we can, you know, do. And thank you for all the donations, and we'll see us actually next Sunday. If there's a change, I'll let you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khempo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khempo. Khempo love.
Thank you, Khempo.
Thank you.
Carlos.
Thank you. Gracias, Carlos.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Carlos.